The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
When you look at the key categories that we always look at, energy, food, and shelter, energy fell by 1.1%. That was largely driven because of gas prices falling in the month of July by 2.2%. Look at that food. I mean, this is where people spend their money, right? Food every single day. Food flat, 0%, and actually down at the grocery store by 0.1%. And then shelter, we always usually see an increase because that is what people are paying on rent, and we know that rents are rising.
Egg prices fell once again in July and are down 20% since President Trump took office. Shelter inflation, the largest contributor to overall inflation, is at its lowest level since October of 2021. Wage growth for American workers is beating inflation once again. As inflation declines, this administration continues to be wholeheartedly committed to putting more money back into the American people's pockets. American real wages are up 1.3% over last year and have increased each month since President Trump took office. And small business optimism, according to this morning's report, has also reached a 5-month high. Ignore the panicans and trust in President Trump. That is our motto here at the White House. The America First economic agenda is working.
Welcome to the Tuesday Bo Snerdley Rush Hour, ladies and gentlemen, the fastest hour in American media. We started with the economic news, inflation under control. Now remember, Jerome Powell has said that this is what his concerns are in not lowering the interest rates. So we don't expect it. But because he's going to say next, well, you know, it's still not really there yet. There's no there yet. We have to wait for more data to see whether that I know what's going to happen there. I think I know anyway. But the good news is that all these fears about rampant inflation, no, they don't exist. So the inflation hasn't kept up with the liberal fear, I should say. Not that inflation doesn't exist. Everybody that shops knows prices on some things have gone up. We know that. But is it breaking the bank the way that it did under the Biden presidency? No. Big news out of Texas today. Princess Di sent me the story and Lady Benedict before the show. And then I looked into it. 2 hours ago it passed. The Senate in Texas has unveiled their redistricting maps. 5 Democrat seats are eliminated. However, you know, there's all this talk about the race, Jasmine and that crew and the insane left continue to cry racism for every single thing that happens, including this Texas redistricting plan, which will mean that there will be more Hispanics, or about the same number, more brown people, as they like to say, in holding elective office in Texas, except they won't be Democrats. And that's the problem. So it's not about race, it's about politics, and it always is about politics. This is so long overdue. When you look at what has happened in the last decades with Democrats, they've gone on a march. We have a funny soundbite with Pritzker out of Illinois. He was on Meet the Depressed over the weekend, and she asked him point blank about their record in Illinois. And you should just hear the dodge that this guy, the steps that he went through to try to pretend it wasn't what isn't happening is. That's cut 4, Carlos. Since I mentioned it, I wanted to do some other things first, but let's just listen to that. Everybody knows Illinois is one of the worst states for gerrymandering that has ever existed in the United States history. And they have been blatant about the way they've gerrymandered Republicans out of having a voice in the congressional delegation from Illinois. Kirsten Walker, Meet the Depressed, actually asked him about it. And wait for his answer. Here you go.
Every major group that grades the fairness of congressional maps gives your state an F. Common Cause, a nonpartisan government watchdog, even says your map, and I'm going to quote, represents a nearly perfect model for everything that can go wrong with redistricting. And I guess the question is, you talk about preserving democracy. How do you preserve democracy if you're using the same tactics that you've criticized Texas Republicans for?
But as I say, what they're talking about is a distraction. The reality is that the violation of people's voting rights is what Texas is attempting to do. That's what's wrong with their efforts right now. And the fact that the president of the United States knows it and nevertheless is asking them to do it.
That's enough. He never answers the question. It just goes, well, we're talking about voting rights. Oh, like the Republicans that don't have a chance to vote for their representatives because of the way you rigged the map in Illinois don't have rights. It's only Texas. And no one's voting rights are threatened at all. Everybody still gets a chance to vote. The rights are not threatened. Folks, I want to spend a lot more time with this. I'm looking forward to chatting up Princess Di this weekend, because this, to me, is one of the most important battles. And if this goes the way that it should go politically, Democrats actually are going to be out of power for a generation, because they have been in power competitively on the backs of illegal immigrants, and they know it, and that is why they have incorporated this idea of sanctuary cities as a lifeblood. This is why they're fighting immigration reform so hard and actually up in arms. Well, there's another congresswoman, I didn't even bother to send the soundbite in, calling ICE a terrorist organization. This is how the Democrats have remained in power. This is how, at least in the House, by cheating, by rigging elections through demographics. This is the source of their political power in the House, along with all the other things that they've done, the slush funds, using the NGOs, building a deep state infrastructure that is now being slowly dismantled. They have not attained power with honesty. And it is coming, the chickens are coming home to roost. But the big story continues to be the federal government actually deciding that it's time for some law and order in the nation's capital. You have another mayor, Karen Bass, out. She's in a city where she's admitting the desperation that they feel in Los Angeles because illegal immigrants are not out spending, not participating in the economy of LA the way they used to because of fears of illegal immigrants. And those fears are because their city has been built on illegality. But she's frightened. And listen to Mayor Bass. She was on PMS NBC describing what is happening. Yes, Carlos, describing what she thinks is the central issue with Trump actually coming to the aid of the people of Washington, D.C. by trying to get crime out of control and under control.
It's interesting which mayors and which cities he's chosen
yes, it is.
to focus on. In Los Angeles, where you have crime down a 60-year low in terms of homicides, homelessness is down. He points to homelessness and he points to crime in Washington, D.C. I don't know what's going on there, but I imagine that they are not suffering in the despair that he described in his press conference that in any way would warrant the use of federal officials in this manner.
Yeah, right. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? You know what we should answer her with? And there's a lot that I want to say about this whole situation, because it is time, people talk around the central issues here with all these cities. because they don't want to talk about the black people that are running these cities in some cases. They're supposed to be the heroes. You know, when they're elected, you hear all this business about, oh, historic, oh, a black mayor, oh, first black mayor this, first black mayor this, second black mayor this, third black mayor this, history in them. But you never have people actually talk about what happens in all of these cities. It is not one. It is Los Angeles with the black mayor. It was Atlanta with the black mayor. It's Chicago with the black mayor. And in many cases, people of color running the city council or having a lot of representation on it. It's Detroit. It's Philadelphia. Philadelphia. It's Baltimore. And Baltimore's mayor is upset with Trump because he talked about Baltimore, and his response is, well, I don't understand why Donald Trump's talking about Baltimore. We only have 84 people killed so far this year. Only 84 people, and they're celebrating. We only have closing in on 100 murders, but this is great. And that is the problem. Because it has come to the point that black people in these cities are expendable because the black criminals who are running stuff in many of these cities. And I am not saying that white folks don't commit crime. I'm not saying Asians don't commit crime. Indians don't commit crime. I'm not saying everybody. In every single way that you could categorize human beings has criminals. What has happened with black culture in America, glorifying the criminals, glorifying living on the scam for a segment of the population, not everybody, because black people from middle class backgrounds don't agree with this stuff. Black people that have achieved it and are in the upper classes of society, they don't agree with this as a way of life because they know that's not how you get there. But there is an element in black culture that actually glorifies the kind of behavior. And not just black culture. You see it also in Hispanic culture. I've been to some of my Hispanic younger friends and seen the posters of Scarface and all the other criminals. Yeah, it's out here. And how the whole gangster, the street life, all this stuff is glorified in the music. It's glorified in the movies. It's glorified in the culture. And then when you start throwing people in jail, then all of a sudden you're racist because you're dealing with mass incarceration. Well, how come if you didn't have mass criminals, you wouldn't have mass incarcerations? The problem is you got mass criminals because your culture glorifies it, and you, instead of defending and saying we are better than this as a culture, our culture is better than this, and we expect better than this. You have every single almost journalist in D.C. who's too scared to walk the streets at night and don't go in certain neighborhoods, sitting around complaining about January 6th being the worst violence because the people that are affected by violence don't matter to them. They never see them. They never go in their neighborhoods. They never have to comfort their families when they're the ones that are murdered, when their children are murdered. No one has to go in those neighborhoods and see these people. They suffer in silence. And yet you have these journalists like Dana Bash and these others saying the worst violence in D.C. was January 6th. That is so full of The worst violence happens every day to people who lose their sons, their daughters. Their lives are threatened by simply trying to exist. But these freaking reporters in D.C. don't see it because they're not in these neighborhoods. They hightail it the hell out of there, and then they sit around and wag their finger at Donald Trump for actually trying to fix the problem in these neighborhoods that everybody wants to ignore because no one wants to talk about exactly why these problems exist. Because you defend this culture that is a godless, immoral culture that has permeated masses of people. I gotta take a break. Keep it right here. Don't go away. Bo Snerdley, fastest hour in American media continues.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I should note that the most violent moment in recent history in D.C. was January 6th. And it was an attack on the United States Capitol by a lot of people who were doing it in the name of Donald Trump. And it included, the people who were hurt included members of law enforcement.
Driving home, my staff who lives here in the Hill reminded me, don't stop at a stoplight until I'm out of town. If I see a red light late at night, since there's very little traffic, slow up at the other block so I never come to a full stop except in the middle of the block because of carjackings. Stopping at a light, people standing at a corner, walking up with a gun.
That was 1992, the second one. That was Joe Biden. That was Joe Biden discussing life in Washington, D.C. then. And the same thing is happening now. That was when Joe Biden was promoting his infamous crime bill to try to get a handle on crime. It's still out of control, regardless of what they say about the numbers. And they know it. And then you have Dana Bash. The most violent incident was on January 6th against the Capitol. Against the building? Folks, I spoke too long in the first segment, so we have to take another break. We're coming back. We'll have some more time. I'm not done. I am up to here with it all.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Man, I'm going to go ahead and say it, dog. Hey, Democrats, man, y'all cooked, bro. I'm talking about, man, I be looking at my news feeds, man. I posted that about black and white conservatives coming together. Man, I had Asians coming in that thing. Latinos coming in that thing. I even think I seen like an Armenian American. Blur. Listen, man. Cooked. Y'all cooked. Extra crispy. No batter. Y'all might want to just start all the way over. Like, just go ahead and sit out for these little 20 years. Let the people get back, back where they want to be. And forget that y'all snakes, and then y'all try to sneak back in. But as of right now, the Latino community, Asian community, black community, white community, Armenian community. Dog, I done had Filipino Americans in my inbox telling me they with it too. It's over.
James Golden and Snerdley with you here. All right, let's go to the morning Joe Scarborough. We're going to get right to it. We got a lot to do here, folks. A lot to it. 9, and then right behind it, 10, Carlos. This was Joe Scarborough. Says a lot right here.
I want to read you a text from
read it.
Someone who, I won't say the name, but
read it.
They're, we'll just say that they're very liberal.
Read the text, Joe.
And he says, this may sound controversial, but I'm not totally opposed to Trump's National Guard move in D.C. I know he's doing it for politics, but crime remains rampant. I've had too many friends carjacked, shot at. None of us will walk more than 3 blocks after 8 p.m. 13-year-olds are committing many of these crimes. Quite a change from a decade ago when things were much calmer. Well, that actually sounds like the D.C. that I lived in when I lived a block behind the Supreme Court. And, every 3 days, one of my neighbors was getting held up at gunpoint. I mean, there has been a crime problem in D.C.
Yeah, we know, Joe. But, of course, your party is in, and I'm including you with the Democrats because that's what you are. Your party is in total denial, okay? Cut 10. More of Joe Scarborough.
You can walk 40, 50, 60 blocks in Manhattan at 2 in the morning and feel safe.
No, you can't.
And yet in Washington, D.C., I've got friends that worked in the Biden White House. I have friends that work in the media that say They don't feel safe walking 3 blocks in Washington, D.C. Why can't Washington be fixed, despite what the crime numbers say? Because people aren't feeling it.
You know, often it's the perception of being safe or unsafe that affects cities. And I think that's what's happened in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. has 3,400 police officers. They're undermanned. The National Guard will provide...
Mike Barnacle, well, he listens to the real stories from people. People don't feel safe. When I lived there, I had neighbors that were being carjacked, that were being held up at gunpoint. You got this person coming, hey, don't feel safe. And then you have Barnacle. Barnacle, did you live in Southwest D.C.? I very strongly doubt it. All these people in D.C., all these media types, the Dana Bashes and all that. I've been to the places in D.C. where they live. Those nice little exclusive neighborhoods that the average person will never come near being able to afford to get into. I've been there. You go around Rock Creek Park in there. It's beautiful up there, but that's not where it's happening in D.C. That's where all you people, certain kind of people, very privileged media people, can go there, or they can get out to Maryland or go to Virginia in some very nice suburbs, thank you very much, where they don't have to be around those people, and you know who those people are. They don't have to live in those neighborhoods. They don't have to worry about the 13-year-old in their neighborhoods because they're in advanced computer classes. Their kids taking AI courses or going to some, play dates with somebody. They don't have to live in the freaking hood. Their kids aren't the 13-year-old, 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds with guns running around trying to kill each other and to rob and steal. Right there in D.C., the whole D.C. area, Giant Supermarkets is a huge supermarket chain in D.C. Right now, they have banned kids from coming in there unaccompanied by an adult after 6 o'clock because the theft was so high. They don't even want the kids in the stores. You can't come in. That's what's happening right in the vicinity of D.C. And yet you have these people like Barnacle, like the Dana Bashes. Oh, the biggest violence we ever had was January 6th. Well, get your ass in the neighborhood and walk by yourself, Dana, in certain parts of D.C. And then come back and tell us if you make it back, whether that's the biggest violence you'll ever see. Because you couldn't take your little ass in many of the neighborhoods in D.C. and walk by yourself in broad daylight, let alone nighttime. I'm so sick of these people with all this nonsense. It's that they pretend that it doesn't exist because they don't want to exist. And why don't they want to exist? Abby had a panel on. Ben Ferguson nailed it. 15. Carlos, Ben Ferguson nailed this one down.
You have a president that is trying to fight crime, and he's getting criticized solely for political gain, and there's nothing that he's ever going to do to stop people from being killed or murdered or raped or going after the cartel members, going after MS-13 gang members. You guys criticize him on every damn thing he does to try to keep people safe because you hate him more than you care about people.
That is the truth.
I am being intellectual.
No, you're not.
Has he ever done anything that you support? Has he ever done anything that he supports with law enforcement?
Actually, he offered pardons to border patrol agents who didn't deserve to be prosecuted. But that's not what we're talking about. Don't change the subject.
I'm asking you, is there anything he's ever done with law enforcement that you support?
Don't change the subject. Are you okay with that guy? Are you okay?
Yeah, you see how they respond to that? Enough, because we can't even understand what half of them are saying, except it was, well, yeah, he issued pardons to some criminals. My point, that was, by the way, that voice saying, oh, no, belongs to this Tara Setmayer, who was on the panel with Abby and the others. And she cut 13. This is her with Scott Jennings. Listen to this.
Nationwide, let's use actual numbers as examples. There are 18 other places, other cities that have more violent crime than Washington, D.C. Number one being St. Louis, Missouri. 4 times the homicide rate of Washington, D.C. I don't see Donald Trump sending National Guard troops and taking over the police department there. Or in Memphis, or Memphis, Tennessee, another red state. Right, okay, then Memphis was one of the murder capitals of the world.
Yeah.
And how come you're not calling for Donald Trump to send National Guard troops in there?
Because I also understand the laws, and I understand that it's different in Washington, D.C., as it was explained by
Joey. Wait. He said he wants to also move this little experiment here of taking over cities and police departments to New York, Chicago,
It's amazing
Baltimore.
how much you guys get mad about fighting crime.
So no, don't change the subject. Nobody's getting mad about fighting crime. Let me finish. Nobody's getting mad about fighting crime. I come from a law enforcement family.
First of all, let me say, and this is a black woman with some kind of, anyway, I'm not going to talk about her look. She's a very beautiful woman, but whatever. But then, proudly, get this, there are 18 other cities that have higher crime rates than Washington, D.C. Is that something to be proud of, Missy? Is that something you feel proud of, St. Louis? What's the problem with St. Louis? And what does St. Louis have in common with Memphis? And what does Memphis have in common with Detroit? And what does Detroit have in common with Baltimore? And what does Baltimore have in common with Dallas? And what does Dallas have in common with parts of New York? And what does New York have in common with parts of L.A.? If you really want to follow this, and she talked about St. Louis. St. Louis is a hellhole. It was another once beautiful city. Every once beautiful city in America has been destroyed by the Democrat Party. And instead of these people saying, you know what, let's fix the cities. Let's fix this problem in our culture where you have kids killing kids, where you have kids robbing and thinking that robbery, theft, mayhem, murder is a way of life. Instead of them joining hands and saying, let's fix this. This is not how humanity should function. This is not how our culture should function. This is not how we as human beings should function. Instead of doing that, these people are driven by this insane level of hatred for Donald Trump that they can't even support the idea that a major city, our nation's capital, people should be able to walk without a fear of crime. Now, what are the residents in D.C. saying? Can't play the whole thing. It goes for over 3 minutes. But here's a regular guy. He's a black guy, got gray in his beard. He's got a salt and pepper beard. Cut 11, walking down the street the day after this was made. And listen to it. Just here he is, regular guy.
The city is quiet as a church mouse, young. I came all the way down Pennsylvania Avenue this morning. So peaceful, young. I don't smell no weed, young. I don't see no homeless people. I mean, I came all the way through the southeast side, all the way down here. You see now I'm at the White House, young man. It's quiet, young. It's a shame that it takes somebody to have to sit in your classroom in order for you to be in order, yeah? Because that's what it feels like, yeah? You got to be babysitter to do your job, yeah? Stuff been out of control for years. You got to do better, yeah? You got to do better, yeah? And mainly, young, you got the problems. It's us, man. It's always us giving everybody a bad name, yeah? We'll see how long this lasts, yeah? How many murders was it last night? How many carjackings was it last night? Talk to me. And y'all keep on posting all these data numbers and things of that nature that y'all see everybody else reposting. The stuff that came from the Metropolitan Police Department and the mayor, yeah? Let me tell you something, yeah? Let me tell you something. You can't be that stupid. You can't be, man. Who enters that information to get that data analysis, young? People do. You can enter whatever numbers you want to make whatever report show what, but you can't hide the crime, young. You can't do it.
Okay, stop it right there. And now let's go. You heard him. And he's talking about all these people defending it. Like you just, it's not the best. Oh, these are the best numbers ever. Who enters the data? Who's entering that data? Now, let's talk about who's using that data to make a point. Cut number 6, Trace Gallagher on Fox News Network. Listen to this.
MSNBC was fact-checking President Trump in real time without using real evidence. Every time Trump would put up a crime stat for Washington, D.C., MSNBC would knock it down. It's the old fact check, reject, where you simply say not true, not true. But as MSNBC was saying that D.C. crime was down, they forgot to put up juvenile crime stats, as if underage crime doesn't count. Because a D.C. father whose child was murdered by a juvenile thinks the crime against his family is very real. And he believes crime needs to be addressed, not dismissed. And as common sense would point out, even if adult crime in D.C. is down, it's still 200% higher than the national average. It's gone from insanely high to extremely high. And when you toss in the underage crime problem, the insane factor is back. When Trump says he's taking over the D.C. police and deploying the D.C. National Guard, CNN calls it deceptive. MSNBC calls it wrong. And common sense wonders why the left is so compelled to coddle criminals.
Boom. Now, let's talk for a minute. Let's listen into a local interview, NBC4 in Washington, with Nazia Israel. Her brother was attacked and murdered by a group of these juveniles in Washington. And let's just listen. We only have 30 seconds of that interview, but let's listen in.
These people here in D.C., all these mothers, children been killed in the streets by juveniles, being carjacked by juveniles.
The 5 girls who attacked Reggie Brown were all tried and found responsible as juveniles. Currently under D.C. law, juvenile offenders can only be held until they're 21, so the girls will all get out within the next few years. Israel says she wants D.C. crime penalties to be tougher so that juveniles who commit murder can be held for life.
This is what's happening. These juveniles know that the Democrat Party has protected them. They can go out and commit any kind of crime they want to. Murder, rape. They can do these smash and grabs. They can riot in the streets. They can do anything they want to, and their punishment is not going to be severe because Democrats are the party of lawlessness. They are the party of crime. And further, folks, it gets deeper than that. What is all of this behavior? All of this behavior points to an immorality that has taken root inside an entire culture. This black culture was not always like this. I'm here to tell you, it wasn't. The black culture in America was about going to church, belief in God, and, by the way, loving your country in spite of the fact that your country had done you dirty in some ways and was, thanks to the Democrat Party, the party of Jim Crow, doing you dirty. In some ways, still a profound love for your country because you realize it was your country. All of that has been overturned in part because of the liberal media that sends this garbage and pollution into people's homes that these executives wouldn't let in their own homes. This idea that cops should be killed, the idea that the gangster life is okay, the idea that well, you saw it on parade in the P. Diddy trial, this hedonism that is out of control. All of it it's like we're living through Caligula times. And the Democrat Party's on the sidelines cheering on Caligula. Folks, we are in a monumental battle of good and evil. It is reflected in our politics. It is reflected in daily life. We have to restore a sense of morality in America. And inside the black culture where we used to be, the shining light of morality, we have to get it back. Because right now, you go to every major city in America and you see the same problems playing out. Can't close our eyes to this stuff. Got to take a break. James Golden, Snerdley, don't go away. Fastest hour in American media continues.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, comrades, if you're in the D.C. area and you are houseless, I really, really urge you for your own safety to get out of there or get to the suburbs. Please. He's talking about rounding houseless people up in the D.C. area. Please get out of D.C. if you are houseless. Take care of each other, comrades.
Yeah, don't try to actually find a safe place to live. Stay houseless, but stay houseless in the suburbs. Go to the suburbs and take your houselessness there, comrades. I'm telling you, the left is just these people. You know, Donald Trump talked about this being Liberation Day in D.C., when the feds are going to come in and finally do something about this out-of-control crime that has been plaguing D.C. now. You heard Joe Biden talking about it in 1992. It's been going back longer than that. It's time for liberation. It's time for this country to liberate itself from evil. And the idea of excusing it. We got to go. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. God willing, we are back here tomorrow. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?